together. Galvin pulling it across. This kick by Sansom, in goes Aldridge, and Houghton! 1-0!
When we all got the call for the squad, it was kind of, we knew in and around what the numbers would be, because that group had been together for probably about a year under Vinnie Butler at the time. So we knew there wouldn't be much change in the squad. It was, I think Sean Bourne, our captain at the time, had just been brought in a few games before, which was it was kind of a big thing back in Ireland, because he was obviously from London, a London boy, and the rest of the squad were Irish, Irish based, Irish born. And it was the first time that kind of happened for our underage group. So we played together a few times, and it looked like the squad was kind of forming from that. So there wasn't really many surprises. It was just, I think we were all just young lads looking forward to playing in a tournament. It was, I think back then you played a lot of friendlies, and, the qualifiers seemed to happen, but we never really seemed to qualify. So the fact that we did qualify, I think the group was just happy to get away together, and stick with it as long as we can while we were over there. Expectations going into the tournament, I don't know, to be honest. We were kind of young lads. We'd probably never played in a tournament like this before. So it was a bit of an eye-opener. We were all going to be together. It was going to be, I think, maybe under 15s, we travelled away to play, I remember, in the Montague tournament, which was south of France. So, you're based away from home for a week or so in a hotel with pretty much the similar group that went to Scotland. So we were kind of used to each other. We were used to each other's personalities. We knew each other well. A lot of the Dublin-based had come up through the DDSL team also. It was a little bit different for me, because I played a year above my age. So, the likes of Keith Foy and Graham Barrett and stuff like that, they played a year younger than me. So I never was really around them when it came to playing, our club football, where I was at Stella Maris and they were at their clubs. We weren't at the same age group, but because we played under 15s and then coming into the under 16s season, we kind of knew each other. So it was just, we were like a good bunch of friends together, and going to play probably in our first tournament that we were going to play in. Major tournament, I suppose, but at under 16 level, you don't think it's major until obviously what happened. My roommate it's usually the keepers. Keepers usually stick together. It was Dave Madden, and he actually was called into that squad. He hadn't been in a squad before that, so it was a bit strange. He was called into it, and talking about that, we've got the WhatsApp group. He's the only one I don't think that we could get hold of. We don't know where he is. He's fallen off the side of the earth. But he was a good lad. He was a good lad. We trained well together. I didn't know him up till the trip, so we got to not know each other well. A tournament is, you spend a lot of time sleeping in your room, training, food. It's kind of just a bit of a monotonous thing that happens, and the further you get on in the tournament, the more it happens. But he was a good roommate. He was good. He was quiet, but it was good. It was good sometimes I'll always prefer to have a roommate than be on my own, especially if you look back at that tournament, because we advanced in it. It's a longer stay, but he was a good guy, and it'd be nice to get him back onto that chat, because I probably haven't seen him since. Standout moment from the tournament, I think obviously when we seen the group coming out, we had Scotland, Finland, and then obviously Spain, and probably when we look back, you didn't realise at the time, because we were all young lads, but I think Casillas played in the game. There was probably one or two others in that team that went on to play for the biggest clubs in Europe, and in the world. So I think the result against Spain really was a bit of an eye-opener for us, because we played the two previous games, drew against Scotland in the first game and then beat Finland. But then to go in against Spain and beat them, was just a real, like, we kind of looked at each other and went, hang on a minute, you know, we could do all right here, you know, because they were probably the favourites. So that was probably the big catalyst for us. And defensively, we were really good. We did really well defensively. So if we could nick a goal, I think we started to realise then that we might have a chance of advancing even further. For us, sadly, I'm gonna have to say it was Liam Miller. I just thought the guy was incredible. I played with him from under 15 level, and he was just this young cheeky chap from Cork, you know, but just seemed to have everything. He seemed to have everything. The fittest player probably I've ever played with. Could run, and along with his talent on the ball, and you know, his desire and everything was just great. And to play with him was amazing. And at the time, I probably played with him for about a year at the time. This was only international level, so I'd only seen him a few times, but you could see him growing. He was a popular character. He was always laughing and joking. He was the practical joker of the group, you know, so he kept everyone smiling, always had a smile on his face. But on the pitch, you just have to look at his career. That's how good he was as a kid. In regards to opponents, there was no household names at the time because we were all kids, you know, but we knew Spain would have some big players. You kind of looked, you know, where they were at: Barcelona, Real Madrid, some of the lads. There was a guy who stood out for Italy in the final, Della Bona, I think his name was. Another really great player. I think he'd been around the first team of his club team at the time, and he was only 16 years of age. So his name was being touted around as well. But, you know, there was an awful lot of talent. Before you rang me, I had a look through the other groups, you know, and there was a lot of great teams there. So for us to come out on top was just incredible. Yeah, we kept in touch. We've all kept in touch. We've tried to on and off, but WhatsApp group started a good few years ago, and you know, people drop stuff into it every so often, and you know, we kind of reminisce, and it's mostly the lads that were in that squad from Scotland. To be honest, we got sent the picture, all of us in our pennies outfit that we travelled over in. Some really bad haircuts going around, but it's great to keep in touch. And I think we won an award last year from one of the papers, I think, and lucky enough, a good few of us came back and met up. It was the time that Liam was just ill at the time, and there was a little dedication to him, and then unfortunately we had to meet up then again for his funeral, which was not great, but it was good to see us all. It was a good turnout for Liam and stuff like that. But we made a pact near enough that night when we were having a couple of drinks for him that we'd have to do it more often, because it did open our eyes. You know, he was such a young man, 38 years old, for it to happen, and we thought, listen, life is short, and what we did was just amazing. We didn't know it at the time, but you know, even when we flew back into Dublin Airport, it was like as if we'd won the World Cup. The place was just covered in people, you know, and it was just an amazing achievement at the time. And you know, hopefully we can keep in contact and meet up. I know it's hard. Listen, people have kids and we're all gone separate ways. I think Kev Brogan's out in America. I think there's people back in Ireland. There's still people in England. So, but it would be great if we could do it once every couple of years. Brian's on that chat as well. So, you know, hopefully we can still stay in touch and see each other face to face. I've got the really bad purple kind of multicolored jersey that was the goalkeeper jersey at the time. Still have that, got that framed, and the kids often ask about it. Yeah, the medal is somewhere. I'm not one for sticking memorabilia up on my house. I'd rather have the kids' paintings or, you know, what the kids done, and then maybe down the line in the future I'd stick up my caps and stuff like that. But yeah, listen, it was great. I just think there was things that went for us. The fact that we finished top of the group meant we could stay in Dunblane, where we were actually staying. I think it was only a year or two before the disaster happened. because we topped the group, we could stay in the same base. You know, we stayed in the same hotel, which was massive. You know, you're settled there for probably a week, 10 days, and then if you have to uproot and go somewhere else to another city. So we played our three group games in Stirling Albion, and I think we played our quarter-final there as well, which was great. So that was massive. And then, you know, as it crept towards the final, it kind of just got bigger and bigger, and my family came over, and my brother and my dad came over. So it's just great memories. And I think arriving back into Dublin Airport was it was just a massive eye-opener. I think it was a Ryanair flight, and Sean Bourne and Brian, I think, walked out with the trophy. And, you know, there was just thousands of people there, like on rooftops, and you could see them behind windows. It was like as if we were literally, you know, the senior team of Ireland, and we travelled back to the Den Forte Hotel, the one that's just at the airport there, and had a little bit of a party and plenty of Club Orange and crisps at the time, as we were only young kids, I suppose. But it was just amazing. You know, I can remember every game. I can remember the final. Keith Foy's great free kick, and, you know, Dave McMahon pulling the wall nearly to the ground when the goal went in. And then actually the goal in the final that I conceded was the only goal in the tournament that we actually conceded. So an incredible, like, defensive record, 3 clean sheets in the group and quarter semis with a clean sheet. And to be honest, we didn't really have much to do in them games, really. You know, you look at Jim Goodwin, brilliant career, John O'Shea, you know, one of the most decorated footballers in Irish history, were in the team, you know. So lads going forward, Graham Barrett, we just had I think the team didn't really change. It didn't really change throughout the tournament. Lads might have gone in off the bench maybe for 15, 20 minutes, but the fact that we could keep the 11 just made it a memorable tournament. And one thing, we all look back and say it probably kick-started our career and, you know, made us believe that we could probably have a decent career in football.